Hey everyone, how's everyone doing today? So, on today's episode, today's episode is transformation time. This is where we get to learn about people's personal development journeys and their mindset shifts that they go through. I think it's super important to always be able to hear people's stories because it helps us realize that everyone's the same and that in the sense of like we can all do this, like we can all be in real estate and we can do it, and then just having these different people talk and show you the different ways they have gone through it so that you can pick what's best for you. So I can see that Caro and Brandon are on. Give me a second. Should we come? Hi. Oh, you guys are sideways.
Am I tilted?
Oh, we're sideways.
Let me see.
How are you guys? Hold on, let me also have my head
I
cut
can
off.
change it. Sorry.
We are
We're
good. We're good.
both having to fix. I'm also, for some reason, half my face is cut off.
I didn't know that this is how Instagram Live showed it. So, anyways, let's. I don't know the best way to do it.
We both got it. We both got it working. So how are you guys doing?
Good. All right. There we go. Better.
One day
The
it'll.
struggles, we make it work. We make it work.
Yeah.
Guys need to like squeeze in now.
Getting a little bit of this plant here that's holding this up. Okay. There we go. Got a stand, and the stand, I guess, doesn't work the same for Instagram Live. Real life stories.
Yeah. So how are you guys doing? What's new with you guys?
Good,
Yeah.
good. I guess non-real estate topic. Our baby started solid, so that's been really fun.
Started with them?
Solid foods, yeah.
Foods.
Oh, that's a lot of fun. A lot of stinkiness starting happening now.
Exactly. For anybody that doesn't know, we have a 5-month-old, so there you go.
That's awesome. So let's just get started with the viewers just getting to know a little bit about you guys. So just tell us a little bit about you guys.
Absolutely. So, Brandon and Carolina from Untitled Properties. Really at the end of the day, why we started all of this is because probably like most people, we encountered certain financial struggles throughout our lives, certain events, whether it was happening to Carolina personally or myself at one point or another in our lives. And we just wanted a lot more stability. And so we started looking at different avenues and investing our money, different ways that we can future-proof what we're doing and make sure that if we ever come across those challenges again, they're minor challenges at that point. And so we were living in Oakville. We had a property there, and we ended up selling that property and decided to become investors. And so we went ahead and looked for our first investment property, and we ended up getting it in December 2019.
Yeah.
And so what was really great about that is that it was the perfect BRRRR. We were able to get our investors their money back in 6 months, and we started our journey with that first property and really took off from there. There's a lot more that goes into it, obviously.
Yeah.
So that one was, I guess, a duplex. You guys are living upstairs, and I guess basement is rented out.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're doing that with the property we're in today, but our first property was not. We weren't house hacking. We actually bought that duplex and found 2 tenants to go into each unit. So we went right away into just flipping into a conversion and duplex.
Yeah.
Oh,
I see Sean here from Infinite Real Estate Results.
What's up, Sean?
How's it going?
yeah,
Yeah, so
that's awesome to hear, and that's great to always hear. So, like, what even decided to, was there a book or like something that just got you even thinking about going the route of real estate?
I think it was a combination of things, right? I'm an accountant myself, so I'm extremely risk adverse, and the thought of, you know, investing in the stock market and potentially losing all of our money and not have something like brick and mortar to back it up was really scary to us. So we really started looking at real estate. I would say definitely HGTV was an inspiration. You know, we started diving deeper into a lot of stories of successful real estate investors. And I think the common message that we were seeing was that, you know, these people are not special. Nobody considers themselves to be special. They're just have an insane work ethic. And
Action takers.
Exactly. They're just action takers. And we looked at each other and we said, hey, we're action takers. And again, you know, we were motivated by certain life events that made us feel really helpless at the time in terms of our financial situation. And we just never wanted to be in that position again. And we thought, you know, if we want to avoid this in the future, and we want to have more control, then, you know, we got to just start doing this for ourselves and be the action takers instead of, you know, just watching other people do it.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. And that's great that you guys like felt like that you guys could do it too, and that didn't feel like, because I feel like that's usually a problem with a lot of people. They kind of put other people on a pedestal and they're like, oh, I can't get to those levels. And it's like breaking that barrier of just even that mindset of like they can do it, I can do it is so important. What do you guys think?
Oh, absolutely, right? I think definitely when you look at our journey and you look at, a lot of people say impressive portfolio, how have you managed to do this? And really the easy answer is we did it one property at a time. We dealt with one problem at a time. We're still dealing with one lesson and one contractor and one thing at a time. If you sit back and try to create the perfect plan, by the time you finish the plan, the market has completely shifted, right? So you just gotta get out there and be that action taker and take that first step, and then you figure out the rest, right? And I guess going back to the question that you gave us in terms of why we decided into real estate, we really saw that real estate has a lot of exit strategies, right? It's not just that you buy a property and you sell it and that's the only way to make money, or you buy it and you rent it and that's it. You kind of adjust with what's going on in the market, right? If it's a seller's market, then maybe you decide to sell. If it's a buyer's market, then you buy more, or you rent it out if it's not a seller's market, or, now there's short-term rentals and you name it, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's why it's so perfect. There's so many different options that you can do once you secure an asset, like brick and mortar real estate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, definitely having so many exit strategies help, and like that, it also just is nice because at different points at your life too, you may be like that. You're like, you know what, the market's good. Like, why not just get rid of a couple properties and then maybe buy more or do something else with that money or whatever.
Exactly, right? It's it's definitely really rewarding to see.
Mm-hmm. And so what would you say? So did you have any like because I think you guys have a mentor right now, right?
Yeah.
So how did getting a mentor or making the decision to have a mentor, was that like easy, or was it like stressful, like thinking about getting a mentor? Like how did that go?
I can tell you what led up to it. We had just completed our first property, and really was a success. Like we said, we got our investors' money back. We were in this house, no money down at the end of the day. But we got stuck in this analysis paralysis, which most people do. And so going from our first property to our second property, how many months was that in terms of the investment property?
I would say close to 6 months.
Close to 6 months. And when you think about staying, absent from the market for 6 months, you miss out on a lot of opportunities. And so led to us buying our second property, also led us to our coach. We were just like, okay, are we making the right decisions, or are we just throwing darts? We like to think we were making sound decisions. We proved ourselves on the first one. But just that reassurance and that guidance and that accountability is what we were looking for. And so that led us to, interviewing actually a few people for who we wanted to coach with. And ultimately we decided to go with gentleman named Corey McKinnon, who you may have heard of from Infinite Real Estate Results, but I don't know if you wanted to say any more on that.
No, I think at the end of the day, we really just wanted to also leverage the community as well. And a lot of people ask us what has been the biggest lesson that you've learned in your real estate journey. And honestly, to Brandon's point, for us, it was the missed opportunities. It was, we should have done this sooner. And I would definitely say that had we got a coach sooner, the results would even be better, because you could get to leverage other people's lessons as well. There's been so many situations that, you know, we've been in different deals, and our entire network has just come together to, you know, make sense of different things, and it's been so powerful.
Yeah, and great points that you're saying, like that, like getting a good mentor that has that network and like makes everyone engage and want to actually help each other, I think is so important, you know, because I feel like really back in the day, I don't know if you felt this, but I felt like back in the day it was like the lone wolf thing, do it yourself, and it's so hard to do that. And then when you get into these communities where people actually want to help each other out and figure things out, like that also, like you said, that like not only with the coach, but the community just like makes you really move a lot faster and be able to do things that you just never thought you could alone.
Absolutely. I think without the relationships we've been able to, you know, build and help foster, we wouldn't be where we are at all. So, you know, we're really thankful and appreciative of everyone that has reached out to us in the community, whether that's contractors, lawyers, people within our team or within our network. We know we wouldn't be there without them. So we're really grateful for everybody that has helped us along the way.
Yeah. And we feel the same way, right? I think one of the most rewarding parts of the journey has been that our lessons has helped a lot of other people, you know, from the people that invest with us to the contractors that we work with to people that we've gotten out of really sticky situations that needed to sell their house. It's been really, really rewarding to be able to share our lessons and help them out along the way. And to your point about community, at the end of the day, everybody wins when they work together in this community, and that's also something that we absolutely love. It's not a competition. Oftentimes, you know, we're having conversations with people and just, you know, brainstorming, learning from each other, and we're both growing from the conversation because everybody's doing different things at different times, and it's just so amazing to see.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's so true. And I think that's again the important part of probably making sure you go even into the right community, right? Because you want that community where it's like that nurturing environment where no one's scared to share information, you know, it's just kind of like, oh, you need help with this? Like this and this happened to me, like make sure you don't do this, or you know, like, oh, this, you know, like talk to this person because they know that they've gone through that situation, right? It's nice to have that community where it's like everyone's supporting each other. And I think it's like probably the number one thing beside, like, you know, to actually have, like, make sure that community is actually like a supportive one and not like that, like not competitive in a negative way. Because I think there's competitiveness, but there's like good competitive, and then there's, you know, the ones that are like basically like throwing you off the cliff. Goodbye.
You get what you give. At the end of the day, you really get what you give. And if you're helping support people in many different ways, whether it's just having a phone call, giving them some advice, you know, a lot of the times we tell people, hey, come JV with us, but not everybody wants to JV, and that's okay. But what we want to see is people take action. So we're like, yeah, let's jump on a call. Happy to chat no matter what it is. As much as we want with us, it's, are you getting in and taking action and taking those right steps? That's really what we're trying to push people to do, and because people pushed us to do that as well, and it's, you know, it's their lives.
100%, totally agree. So with you guys working together doing this, like who is what? Like who's like the best at what, and like how do you guys divide out your roles, or you know?
Yeah. Good question. Good question.
Is that a scary question?
I think people always get nervous whether you're working with family, especially your spouse. It changes things, the dynamic. But what we've always tried to do is create boundaries. And so we have working hours where we are just a family, or where we are Medallo properties. And I think that's very important to separate, you know, work from your personal life. And at the end of the day, this is still work, whether it's passive at times or really active at times. It's still a job at the end of the day.
I think Diana's asking who's the boss.
I know, that's what I'm getting. That's what I'm getting at.
Actually, no, I meant skills wise. Like usually there's like one. I meant skills wise actually.
No, that is that we've actually taken the exercise of breaking down what roles belong to who and which responsibilities belong to who. We have an organization chart, and at the end of the day, Carol is at the top. She is the CEO. That doesn't mean I don't wear many hats, important hats. But no, yeah, at the end of the day, you have to have structure, you have to have a strategy. And so we've built the right systems in place, and that goes hand in hand with roles and responsibilities. If we're both, calling the same realtors, calling the same people, trying to connect the same deals to the same, capital lenders, we're repeating work, and it's sometimes the ball can be dropped as well. Maybe I thought she was going to do something, or she thought I was going to do something. So we have very specific roles and responsibilities, and I think that goes into the strategies that our CEO has helped build as well.
That, but
she used to be the CFO, but then we really built up the roles, and she got the upgrade. She got promoted.
I created the role myself.
Caro's the boss.
No, honestly, it's really helped in terms of, we're busy at different times, right? And I know that I'm the person that, for example, can run the numbers. I'm the accountant. Brandon's the person that can negotiate the best and deal with tenants and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, when everything comes up and we're busy with different things, we just support each other, right? So, but it helps to know who's taking care of what, because every day for the longest time we'd be waking up, be like, okay, so are you doing this or am I doing this? And we'd spend half the day trying to figure that out. Whereas now with the organizational chart, we at least know, okay, this is what you normally take care of. And there's just no questions. And if I need help with my stuff, then I'll ask Brandon, and vice versa, which really helps, right? And that's part of where coaching was really helpful, right? Because when you start getting into the nitty-gritty of real estate, it really absorbs you. And it's hard to step back and say, wow, okay, if I really want to grow, what do I need to do here? What kind of structures do I really need to set up to be able to continue to replicate and grow? And if you're working in the business all the time, it's really hard to see that. So it was really good from our coaches to step in and say, hey guys, like, I need you to do this. And whether you think it's important or not, I need you to do this now. And it's just become so valuable, right? From that to like weekly meetings that we have, like really setting up our calendars to building time for everything and really building the business around our lives and not the other way around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great point too. Being able like that to build the business around your lives. Because I think sometimes we forget, like get so stuck into the work, and it's just kind of like, yeah, there's other things out of that, that can be done and enjoying life and stuff.
Exactly. And I was going to say, and that's not why we didn't get into real estate investing so that we could do more work and not spend time with family either. So it's all about how can we make that happen, and through being organized, being able to communicate with each other, it's really helped us to put those systems in place.
100%. And just like that, give you the freedom that you would like to have. Like that's basically what I feel like we're all achieving, right? To have like these certain freedoms to be able to do what we want without like money being an issue or, like time being an issue.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Precisely. that's exactly what we're after. We're still working our 9 to 5s. Like Carol said, we have a 5-month-old baby, so we're really busy. But we're making the time for this and trying to figure out how can we make this work better for us.
Yeah. A huge part of it, I would say, is definitely delegation as well, right? Yeah. We've learned that there's certain tasks where we can add a lot of value, and there's other things that we're maybe not the best at that somebody maybe has more attention to detail on that they can help us out with, right? So we're happy like writing checks to people so that we can all grow together. So that's been a huge part.
100%. And And yeah, and I feel like I don't know if this happens with you guys, but just like when you're in a relationship, I feel like having like usually your other person is like the other person is kind of your opposite. So usually like if you're not able to do something, the other one does, and then you kind of become like a power couple because it's just like you like both majority of the time, like if one doesn't know one thing, the other one can do it, or like you said, like like Brandon is better at negotiating. So you're like, get it done because I know you're gonna close it compared to like me, Like it's also nice to have that balance because I don't know, at least with like let's say with me and my husband, like that, like is really funny the way we work is like I'll be struggling in something and I'll be like, oh my God, like I don't know how to do this, I'll figure it out. And then Giancarlo just comes, takes it up, and he's just like, don't worry, I got this, and he does it because that's just like he's better at those things, let's say, than I am. And
Yeah.
that's actually how we started defining our roles. Like it just happened to us. It happened kind of organically. I had to say, like, I would struggle in something and he would just be like, pick it up. Or he'd be struggling with something and then he would pick it up and I would pick it up for him. Yeah.
Precisely. Yeah. I mean, just as humans, we naturally gravitate to what we're good at, and so that the fact that it happens organically is no surprise, and I think that also helps build confidence in people too, right? And they're like, okay, Caroline has confidence that I can go, to a house, look at it by myself, assess the property, make an offer, and close it up and lock it up in our portfolio. And I have confidence in what she does too. I don't need to ask her or monitor what she's doing. If it's done, there's
Mm-hmm.
we're gonna be really happy, and we're gonna be successful and make progress within the business. So I think there's a lot of power within working as a couple.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like the same thing like that because I just think like naturally in general, like most people always match up with like their opposites anyways. And then when you're an opposite, like that, like your weaknesses are their strengths are your weaknesses. So it's like you just can really like help like that. Like I feel like couples should be power teams, like they're just like boom, they should go.
And I don't want to discourage anybody where their significant other maybe isn't into the business or anything like that. There's ways to create dynamic duos with your contractor, your mortgage broker, your real estate agent. We're always looking for opportunities where we can help other people grow and get started in real estate, right? A lot of like our contracts have been with people that we work with, like a lot of contractors, you'd be surprised, have different opportunities that they bring to the table. And you just need to be able to, I guess, see it and look for it and not be like, I guess, narrow minded, I would say, and talk about what you're doing, talk about where you want to go, put it out there so that like-minded individuals can come together. It doesn't have to be, your wife or significant other. It could be anybody that you come across, right?
Yeah, totally agree. And even like that, even when partnerships come up, it's like in general, like I think like, but that one's more trial and error. I feel like it happens where you start learning, like, okay, maybe this person wasn't such a good partner, but you start realizing, like, okay, this person is, because like that, you start, because even like in other talks I've had, it's the same, right? They're like, oh, I'm partnered up with this person because they're completely opposite to me and they have these skills, which I don't have those skills. So I think even just like that in regular partnerships, you feel like you notice that like you start partnering up with people that are, your like whatever your weakness is, you're kind of like looking for that to help you out and help push forward. Or even just like in the broader sense of the power team, right? You're always looking for like those people to kind of like get you where you're weak at, but they have their strengths.
100%. I think the people that we work best with is people that genuinely are looking out for other people as well, right? That at the end of the day, your values have to match up with the values of whoever it is that you're working with. And if they don't, probably not a good idea to get into business with them. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, as long as your values align, even though you have completely different skill sets, there's something to be, I guess, taken advantage of there for both parties.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Yeah, making sure your values align is so important. And I'm just saying that for the fact like I've had that happen in the past where so we're like this with other partners and we're just like, okay, maybe this is the first and last one.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
They may be successful, they may be not, but if you can't work with them, and
It is.
you gotta move on, and it's okay. It's okay to not.
Exactly. And that's actually where you start realizing the benefits of like it's not always about the deal. The relationship will always go before the deal. That was like one of my lessons early on where I was like, it's like slap in the face, I was like, oh, okay, I got it. Deal
Yeah,
doesn't matter.
precisely. Yeah, you have to experience it before you know that what you're looking for in a partner. Like you said, it really helps you define what you need in a partner, and you don't know that until you go through it.
We always tell people that we work with, listen, if you don't want to work with us, just tell us now. That's okay. We won't be offended. And we can give you a note. It's not an issue. We do not want to work with anybody because they feel like they have to. They want to, like, we want them to want to work with us. Otherwise, it's not a good alignment, right? And it works both ways, right? We won't work with people that we don't want to work with, just because you're setting up yourself for failure in that regard, right? The numbers might be the numbers, but at the end of the day, your
sanity.
Your sanity, yeah. You're doing business with people for a number of years, and if you're not in alignment, then it's going to be a headache for a long time. So.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah. And actually something that you just brought up, which I think is also important, is you guys were also talking about basically being okay with failures, right? Because like you said, like it's not until you hit like certain roadblocks that you realize it's a roadblock, right? So can you guys share some kind of roadblocks that you hit and like, you learned from it and then had to and moved forward from?
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of some good examples. I definitely think that the whole, like what we were talking about in terms of before getting a coach and being trigger shy, was a really big one because, for example, like we were really reminded, we didn't realize how much different strategies there were in real estate. So we were looking at just one type of deal, and you'll laugh when I say this, and experienced investors will also laugh when I say this, but there's opportunities that were turnkey that were under market value. And I was like, oh, but I can't add any value to it because I thought I had to do a renovation in order to add value. But at the end of the day, if the property was undervalued, like this is actually like a property in Hamilton, for example, that was like 475 a year and a half ago. It was a steal, right? And we should have closed on it, but we were trigger shy because we were like, no, we want to be able to add value. There was already value in the house. It was, anyways. That was definitely a big lesson. A lot of it with real estate, I find that it tends to be more so missed opportunities than anything. Like we were on vacation one time, we were like, oh, this deal just came up. It looks pretty good. We'll go see it in a couple of days. Gone. So those definitely really sting.
Yeah. So I think part of the biggest roadblock at the beginning was ourselves. Whether it was making excuses like, hey, we can't go see the property ourselves, so like we can't invest in it, and now we do FaceTime with realtors and they're looking at the properties ourselves. Like Caro said, analysis paralysis. There's things that we were holding ourselves back with and not taking the action ourselves. Because I feel like most of the challenge that you encounter and you go through during renovations or during your investment, if you have the right network, if you have the right people, you can get through those challenges pretty easily. Pipe burst, something happens with the gas line. Those can be solved, right? Those can all be solved. But what can't be solved so easily is your own confidence and the way you stop yourself from doing things. And that doesn't happen overnight either. That takes, but a long-term mind shift as well. And so I'd say for me, I think our biggest roadblocks was ourselves at the beginning.
Yeah. Like a lot of the times we'd be like, oh, I don't think we can refinance right now because we're in the middle of doing this other project or whatever. Yeah. And nobody told us that. That was ourselves telling ourselves that, and we never asked.
We assumed what our limitations were.
Exactly.
And they weren't true at all.
Yeah.
And what's actually really funny that you say that is until you actually start dealing with or working on your mindset, do you even realize you're making assumptions? Because that's funny you say that. I also had that. I didn't know I was making assumptions. And you just kind of like go with it, do it until someone probably says something or some kind of situation happens, and you're just kind of like, oh, I just assumed it. I'm like, and why did I do that?
Yeah, exactly. So that was definitely probably the biggest roadblock, just that our own mind at the end of the day.
Yeah, agreed. Any other, what about like, let's say the money mindset? How was that?
In what sense?
In the sense of like, let's say leveling up or like that. Like normally I feel like investors will always start with like a small, a small property with, let's say, small renovations, because obviously you're kind of like you cap yourself. I feel like, you feel like I can only do this amount because like you just have all like these mental like blocks in you. And then it's funny, I feel like once you hit a certain amount, or like as an amount of properties or dollar amount, then all of a sudden I feel like money is not even anything. Like it's like you're just adding another zero in, and it doesn't kind of like compute to anything like as scary as it was at the beginning.
Yeah, you know what? I think that's a great point. So the way I would maybe narrow it down would be just by saying, at the beginning we had like the view of debt equals bad no matter what, right? Now we see debt as something like, hey, 30 years down the line, when these mortgages are paid off, these will be money that we could use for our retirement and financial security, right? It's not actual debt. I don't focus so much on that. I focus on the assets that we're acquiring, on the living situations and rental spaces that we're creating for people that don't have it right now, and all the lives that we're touching along the way, right? That's definitely what we focus on a lot more. At the beginning, it was like, oh my gosh, it's so scary. Like, I'm going to buy this property. It's so scary to pull the trigger. And then after we bought it, we would also say to ourselves, okay, what's the worst that can happen? You sell it tomorrow. That's it. Like, it's not like you bought a property and then you have to hold it for the rest of your life. And that's that. No, you could sell it if you really change your mind and decide that this is not the way that you want to go. So
It's a different kind of return policy, but
yeah.
back on the market and yeah, let's say you break even or you make some money or you don't make any at all. You're still not losing the initial down payment that you put in, right? At least you're making some of it up. There are exit strategies. Maybe you rent it out because whatever, it doesn't make sense to sell it right now if you don't want to, if you want to make sure that you're at least breaking even. So
Yeah. I see some people. I was just saying that some people had some questions and we're happy to answer. If we have,
Someone asked you guys said already, but if you want to say, they asked for who is your coach?
yeah, so we work with Corey McKinnon and Riley Oakley from the Infinite Real Estate Results Group. I actually worked with Corey. I used to own a little franchise with Student Works Painting back in the day. And they've been amazing. Their network has been really powerful. We love, love, love working with them. The entire network, a lot of people I see on here are from that group. What up, Alvin? They've really just been really supportive throughout the journey. So happy to chat more about that if anybody has any questions, for sure.
Yeah, yeah, they did ask you, how did having a coach make you level up?
Oh, many different ways.
Definitely. I would say the first thing was building the right systems to allow us to find the right deals, find the right money for those deals. Really gave us insight into the right tax structures to maximize the money in our pockets. They came up with systems also around property management that have been really helpful for us as well. And it just helps you scale, right? If you try to do this on your own, you can do it. It's just going to take you a long time, and there might be things that you miss along the way. Whereas, having a coach, you can leverage their knowledge and experience so that you don't make those same mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the only thing else, and I think people get scared about hiring a coach, because if you've ever looked into a good coach, it is expensive, right? It's not cheap. But it's the old adage, you got to use money to make money, right? And at the end of the day, we've made our money back from what we've invested in this coaching.
Like 10 times full.
So and we're not going anywhere. We are with our group and our network, and we love being a part of this team. And again, people get trigger shy to spend that money because it is a lot. But if you choose the right coaches, if you're with the right network, if you take the right actions, you're going to make that up. And so if anybody's thinking about hiring a coach, we don't coach, so it's not like we're promoting ourselves.
Yeah.
Hire a coach. I promise you.
Yeah.
If you hire a person,
And I think one of the things that's important or like really helps, or two things like that, like, yeah, coaches are expensive, or the right coaches are expensive, but it's because they also come with that community, which is like also a big part of it. But also, like, just for a coach, at least for me, I feel that they help you really reduce your fears a lot. Because usually it's just you, like, I feel like you make up these unreasonable scenarios, like you're just like, oh my God, I don't want to buy a house because what if like the market drops like 50%, and then afterwards, like once you've been in it, you're like, that's not even realistic. Like how? And it's like you're running your numbers on like the market dropping 50%, and like that's like a non, like it doesn't even exist, you know?
You won't lose money unless, like, so many different things have to happen at the same time for you to actually lose money. If you, just like in the stock market, if the market drops and you sell, then you lose money, but eventually the housing prices will continue to go up because it's a supply and demand situation, and to be honest, the supply is just not there, and neither is the infrastructure to build in a lot of different regions around Canada. There's land for sure, the infrastructure is just not there, right? So yeah, and that's where, like you said, having a coach, if the market were to drop 50%, that's more the reason to have a coach, so that he can tell you to hold steady or actually buy more properties while the market's low, because it's only going to go back up, right? And I
They
think
give you the confidence for sure.
exactly, right? Like when you look at what happened in the States, the market dropped, 25% or more. The rental market stayed steady, right? So at the end of the day, not only would the market have to crash, the rental markets would also have to crash, and that hasn't happened in like 60 years. I mean, it happened a little bit with the condo market downtown, but then it was back up in like 2 months, right? So
And
yeah.
they're not the crazy drops like people talk about, like
No, exactly. And your coach can also help you make sure that you have a good enough cushion so that you're not over leveraging yourself, right? That's kind of another way to be risk averse. And I would say if you're not an active investor and you really want to become one, but you don't know a lot of things out there, at least look to JV with somebody, anybody. That way you can leverage their experience as well. It doesn't have to be through a coach if you don't want to pay for one, because at the end of the day, if you're not an action taker and you're not going to be doing what the coach asks you to do, then you're not going to make your money back, right? You got to make your money back by actually doing the homework, and it's a lot of work. Real estate can be passive if you are, being with somebody.
like slowly. Oh, I got disconnected.
or completely outsourcing
Yeah,
everything.
sorry, I thought we lost connection there for a second, but
Yeah.
otherwise it won't be passive, right? And if that's the expectation that you're coming into it with, then you're probably better off spending your money in an actual property JVing with somebody than investing in a coach.
And that's actually a very great point, because I think that's a very, very true, right? Like you have to also see what kind of investor are you, right?
Right.
Like, are you one to want to run it like a business? Then you're going for a coach, because you're just like, I want to buy 10 properties this year, and you're like, your coach is going to be like, okay, you got to start running now, you know? Whereas like if you're like, I would like to buy a house this year, and then maybe every 5 years, like take it super slow, then maybe like you said, maybe JV, so at least that person can like guide you in the right direction and make sure you're doing it, or you do it on your own, because obviously if you're doing like super slow, I'm pretty sure you should, like normally I would think you'd probably be able to take care of it yourself too.
Exactly. Well, I guess going back to the lessons that we were talking about earlier, and if had we had a coach, I feel like they would have told us, to go in a different direction. We actually owned a condo before we actually started becoming active investors. And we owned a condo. We were cash flow negative, and we were just happy to be,
In the market.
in the market. We're like, we're real estate investors. And it ended up working out okay, right? Like we sold, we made a profit and everything. But what we could have done with that money in the market at that time, like, holy, it hurts. It hurts to look at that, right? Like we were talking to our neighbor today, And he was saying that he bought his like over 2,000 square foot home for $300,000 in Burlington around the same time. That's what my condo cost in Mississauga at that time. It hurts me. I'm like, wow, I could have done so much better, right? So again, we didn't lose money, but we also the opportunity cost.
Right,
yeah, and
the strategy was very different because I think everyone goes through that too. Because same thing, my very first investment property, it was very the GTA mentality, right? Like buy for appreciation, like cash flowing only exists probably after 5 years, and that just means like your mortgage has gone down and that's why you're cash flowing, right? Because it was the same thing for me. I like the struggle, actually for me, the struggle to sell my first property, because it was like my baby. I had already defined it as my little retirement property. Like, it's going to make me money when I'm retired, and the struggle to be like, I'm going to sell this because I know by selling it, it's just going to make me so much more money, because now I'm thinking in more of a business mindset. And I think like that everyone goes through that. Like, no one's going to go and have their first like perfect one unless if you go immediately to a coach and then you're starting from scratch with a coach, because then they'll obviously give you like the right strategies for you. But most of us like that, we need to dip our toes in, right? Like, let's buy a property, see what happens, and they're like, oh, okay, maybe it's not so bad. Like, and then it's like, do I want to take this as a business? Oh yeah, okay, I want to get a coach because I want to actually know what it is to run a real estate business.
Yeah,
exactly.
You really have to define what you want long term and what your strategy is going to be, and then that should determine, should I hire a coach? Should I again work with people that are just doing this and I can let them handle the expertise side of it? So yeah, you really got to define what you're looking to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally agree. So is there any other types of major mindset shifts or even small ones, mindset shifts that you guys saw as you were kind of going through the process of like buying properties and just like your learning process?
I would say the biggest thing for us is at first it was very focused on our journey. And then once we realized the impact that we could have on other people, it became bigger than just ourselves. It became, all about adding value to whoever it is that we work with, right? We've come across situations, and this might sound funny to some people, but we've come across situations where, contractors won't charge us the right amount. We're like, no, we won't pay you anything less than market value because we value your relationship. I don't want you to be in this relationship and not gaining your value. Because then it's not a win-win, right? So that's been a huge shift, and I think that it's come back around for us tenfold. But again, we're not doing it because we want it to come back around for us. We really do see the value in just even educating, right? Like I was saying earlier, we're happy to just jump on the phone and talk to somebody about, what their financial situation is. And obviously I'm not doing it as like a financial advisor officially, but there's just so much, and it blows my mind how little people know about everything that they have to consider when it comes to retirement, when it comes to potentially like saving up for their kids' school, or like buying your own property eventually as well, right? So it's one of those things that it really gets us out of bed in the morning, and it's just been amazing to be a part of. So I would definitely say that that's probably the biggest shift.
Yeah.
Honestly, I wouldn't have seen that coming into it, but yeah, we're all about that. So
But yeah, I completely agree with you. It's very true. And I think like that, like you just start hitting a point in real estate, or like let's say maybe the amount of money you make or whatever it is, where like that, like at the beginning it's all about you because you're in the grind and just trying to make ends meet or trying to make it happen. But once you've like stabilized, then it's exactly what it is, what you're saying, right? You start becoming like, I want to share the knowledge that I've learned because it's just like, oh my God, I'm in like this really nice state of being, nice mindset. It's like I want people to be there with me, like I want them to know what it is to actually like feel like what I feel, or like know, like you said, like it's like you don't start realizing like how much people don't know about things. And so like you'll just like slowly throw out things like, oh, like why didn't you do this or why'd you do that? And they're like, that was a possibility. And
yeah.
it's just kind of like, yeah, Go do it. Give me a push, you know?
I think that's part when you're just talking to somebody and you say something that to you it just sounds like common knowledge, and you see that look at that like aha moment on their face, and you're like, oh wow, I was able to share something that people didn't know about before, and whether they were looking for that knowledge or not, it's a tool now for them, and it's a weapon that they can go and use within their own lives as well. So it's always nice to hear friends coming up to us or family telling us we've not completely changed the way that they think, but we have added value in the way that they think, and shifted their mindset, whether it comes to investing, building relationships, day-to-day things. So
yeah,
we get really excited.
We've had people that like are in their 50s now that previously thought they would never be able to retire, done a couple of properties with us, and for them to be able to say like I actually see the end.
I want to do it, and it's possible now.
Yeah, that to us has just tremendous value. And we look at the numbers sometimes and we're just like, why isn't everybody doing this? Come on, like it's so crazy.
No, it's so hard, right? When you see things and it's just like that, like if you guys just did this, it'd be, this much better for you. And it is very true. Like once people get involved and work with you and do certain things, be it in whichever way, like JV, lending money or whatever, like just being involved and they see it, and it's really funny because they just become kind of like in shock of like same thing, like why didn't I know this? So like and then even more they come, I feel like they become more connected to you because they're just like, help me do this again.
That's the best, getting repeat investors or repeat JVs. That's the best. JJ, you can send us a DM and we'll follow up with you after. Absolutely.
That's awesome. Getting already stuff already online.
Exactly. Yeah, I think at the end of the day, anybody that is trigger shy, whether they're looking to JV or they don't know where they can go, we're happy to have a conversation anytime. Like we're just accessible, so just definitely just reach out to us. Happy to answer any questions, like we said, and educate as much as possible.
Awesome. So last and final question, or maybe a hard one because there's two of you. So what do you guys see yourselves doing in the next in the next 5 years? Be it being it real estate or personal, like how do you see yourself in the next 5 years?
Good question. I have a personal dream of mine, which is something I shared with Carolina. We've been together for 12 years, and I shared this with her a long time ago. But my dream is our son Teo starts school in the next 5 years. I know that's still a long way, but you got to think about it. But my goal is I'd love to spend every summer in a new country with our kids, with our family, complementing their education, getting them to see and experience other cultures. So on the personal life, I see myself having a lot more flexibility and kind of living out that dream of spending time with my family in a new country and just kind of enriching those experiences that I know should last a lifetime for our kids. So.
Yeah, I'm down with that. No, I think for us, definitely would be great to have another kid. And then in terms of real estate, we're looking to ramp up systems. We're hiring an assistant that is going to help us hopefully do more than one property a month in the coming year and continue to grow from there. At this point, we really just want to help other people get started more than anything. And so we just want to have the right systems in place so that we can support them in that process. That's kind of more of a real estate goal, I would say. But yeah, honestly, just continuing to balance personal life and work and this. Again, this is a long-term play for sure for us. So, trying to find the right balance between all those things and making sure that we're living our life and we're running the business around our lives and not letting business and work run our lives.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, thanks so much. It was awesome to hear you guys' journey, to hear you guys like all your experiences, and yeah, thank you so much.
No,
No,
thanks
no
for having us.
problem. There's one last question here. I don't know if we have time to answer it. Uh, how do you go when you have to do an investment? Do you go for cash flow or flipping the properties?
I'm taking.
You can take it.
Well, I mean, there's benefits to both, right? When if you're looking at flipping, a lot of times it's immediate cash flow. Obviously, there's taxable gains, capital gains that you have to pay, so you got to be mindful of that. In terms of cash flow, if you're looking to buy and hold a property, cash flow and rent is actually also considered active income. So you're still taxed pretty high even on the cash flow. But it all just depends what your strategy is. If you don't have a job today, if you're not working, I'd say flipping and wholesaling is probably going to be how you're going to make income the fastest. If you're going to rely on cash flow and rent out a spot, it might just take a little bit longer to build up the equity in the home, the cash flow that you're looking for in order to potentially replace your income. So
Yeah.
it really depends on your strategy. So just decide, what are you looking for? Short-term games, long-term games, and you can do a mix of both. But
Yeah, I
whatever.
was just gonna say that it can also be like sometimes the opportunity presents itself. Like I remember I was before burrs. All of a sudden, and I was like only burrs. Like I didn't want to deal with flips just because I was like I just want to like accumulate as many houses as quickly as I can. All of a sudden, a flip came that was just like too juicy to give up. And I was like,
Right.
okay, I guess I'm doing a flip, and I'm like here preaching. I'm never going to do a flip at least for the next like 2 years, you know?
Go flip it
Exactly.
now. And so yeah, that's
And
that's
you do.
exactly it. The opportunity presents itself, and it's what do you want to do? What's within your capacity? So the opportunity will kind of dictate what that looks like for you as well.
Yeah, I would say be careful with cash flow. A lot of people think that because it's cash flow positive, it makes sense. There's a lot of other things to consider when it comes to a property. Definitely like the neighborhoods and stuff and the long-term appreciation. You might have great cash flow, but then you might not get the appreciation that you're looking for in the long term. So something else might be worthwhile. And cash flow is also a tricky thing, right? Because you might have a lot of it. And then out of nowhere, something breaks, and then boom, there goes your cash flow, right? So you can't solely rely on cash flow for investing. Obviously, cash flow negative is a bad thing because then unless you're expecting tremendous appreciation for some reason that you expect it to be better than other markets, but that's tough. That's really tough to estimate, I would say.
Yeah, and like I feel like that's where probably a coach would come in because they really like, what are your goals, right? Like, what do you want to achieve? What's important? And then they kind of start guiding you in the right direction because there's so many variables. Like, how much time do you have? How much money do you have? Like what is your area? Like, do you only do 1 hour diameter of your area, or you're willing to go to like another, another province or something, right? There's just like so many things and like there's just way too many factors.
Time before you decide what you're going to do. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right.
Awesome.
Oh,
Yeah.
So yeah, thanks so much, guys. It was really awesome
yeah,
to have you guys on, and hopefully we'll have you on a future one soon.
Thanks so much. Lots of
absolutely.
fun.
Happy to be part of it.
Take care,
Have a
Diana.
good one.
Thank
Great to see
you. Bye,
you.
everyone. See you on the next episode. Oh, can't get off. I don't know why I struggle these days. There we go.